Another brick fan here would look at a Lego Spider-Man set. This is Spider-Man versus Doc Ock. This is set 76148, was released in January 2020, has 234 pieces, 3 minifigures, and cost about $20 when it was released. This is the second Spider-Man themed motorcycle released in the past couple of years. And it's sort of a combination of the spider crawler and a motorcycle together, which we'll show you here in a few minutes. Essentially, you can take off these spider legs off the motorcycle and turn it into a separate vehicle. We'll take a look at the minifigures individually here in a few minutes, but let's start with the main build. The main build of the motorcycle looks a little strange to me. I mean, why would you have a motorcycle with all these extra arms on it? But it does look okay, and it's certainly functional as a motorcycle. They're using these new wheel pieces, which I think are really cool for motorcycles. Get a closer look at those here in a minute. You see that Spider-Man kind of rides it by standing up. Has this same kind of fender style in the back that is angled on a hinge there with the brakes behind it, so it kind of leans over the wheel, which is a decent look, I think. Like I was saying in the introduction, these pieces here come off the motorcycle. So they just connect with these Technic pins here. We can pull those out. And then this connects together. Forming a spider crawler, which you can kind of adjust and get it up on its legs here, and then you can actually fit a figure in there. Now there's no obvious controls or anything, but we'll go ahead and assume that it has some controls and you can have two separate vehicles. So as far as the spider crawler kind of accessories, or the spider legs that work with the set, they have these little stickers here on these slope pieces. There's a couple of web pieces here to kind of give it some attachment or cohesion. All of the legs, as it were, are up on ball joints, so they can be articulated in lots of different directions. So it is very stable when it is standing, and you can pose it in a lot of different ways, which I think is pretty cool. And it provides for a nice little detail. The motorcycle is actually a little narrower than some of these larger bikes. That's not an oxymoron. It does have a couple of stud shooters here in the front. As I mentioned before, it has this newer style wheel, which I think is very good looking for motorcycles because it is kind of pushed out on both sides of the wheel, so it makes it a little wider, but a little more appropriate to a motorcycle rim or wheel than some of the automobile wheels. You'll notice there's some Technic pieces in here to allow for the legs of that spider crawler to be connected to this. There's some silver elements with the silver engine here and the silver nougat piece or ingot piece here. Sticker here on the back, and as I pointed out before, there are some brake lights here, and then this headlights are actually done with a sticker piece, and another little sticker here with a Spider-Man logo. Overall, a pretty decent looking bike, both with the legs on it, although personally I think it looks a little better like this. If you found some pieces maybe to cover those up, I think it would look just fine as a bike without all of the leg attachments. Let's take a closer look at the minifigures now. As I mentioned in the beginning, there are 3 minifigures with this set. They include Spider-Man, Spider-Girl, and Dr. Otto Octavius, better known as Doc Ock. So I've removed Doc Ock's arms here just so we can get a close look at him. I'll show you what he looks like with the arms here in just a moment. Starting with Spider-Man, he has his traditional red and blue uniform. The nice dual molded legs here. Good printing on the front here. You see some abs underneath there, the spider logo here. And some good printing here on the face. So he doesn't have any hairpiece, obviously, because he's wearing a mask that goes over his entire head. Spider-Girl just has the plain black legs, but I do like this print on her torso, which I think is good. The great big spider and then also some ab definition underneath that. I have mixed feelings about the hair. I think it's kind of an interesting look to have the hair. I would have rather seen, a more interesting hair piece maybe that, I don't know. I haven't looked at the pictures of Spider-Girl, so maybe I'm just all wrong on that, but it doesn't really work for me, but that's okay. It's not a bad hair piece, and the printing on the face is actually quite good. No bleeding through of the black or anything, and I think it looks pretty nice, and she does have a good smile on her face there. Last up is Doc Ock, which I think turned out really nice. He's got kind of this bowl haircut. Seen that hair piece a lot. Big grin on his face, and he is wearing these goggles. He has more metal around him here on this belt, presumably something to do with the arms that he's wearing. And it looks like kind of a gold collar piece here. Pretty plain legs with just the green on the bottom there. Nothing too exciting on that. Moving around the figures, you notice that both Spider-Man and Spider-Girl have different colored arms. So Spider-Man with the blue and Spider-Girl with the black arms. Moving around to the back, we have a nice back print as well for Spider-Man here with another one of his spider logos. There is this printing on the back of the head, which I think is nice with that kind of web pattern. No alternate face, obviously. Here's Spider-Girl. Some good back printing, and again, no alternate expression for her. Doc Ock has this good back printing, which includes the belt, and then this is the device that all of the arms attach to. So I know in the comics that he can retract them quite a ways. They don't obviously retract in this Lego form. He does have an alternate expression where he looks a little more grumpy. Perhaps this would be after he got caught or something like that. No side printing on any of these figures. But overall, I think a good representation of figures for this set. Let's take a look at Doc Ock with all of his arms in place. So here is Doc Ock with the arms that he has. And these all have stickers here on each of the 4 arms. They do have 3 articulating joints. So they can be positioned in many ways. They are pretty long, so you kind of need to curl them up or fold them backwards for him to actually be able to stand on his own. But I think they look pretty good. They are connected, of course, on one of these kind of 4-post or 4-rod connectors. I mean, I remember seeing these used a lot in the Avengers sets, starting with the Infinity War sets. They've probably been available before then, but I know they were used a lot in those sets for the Chintani Warriors. And I think it's an appropriate use here. I've seen different backpack pieces for different Doc Ocks in the past. Let's go back and I'll give you my final thoughts on the set. Overall, a very good set. I think it's a really good value for $20. You get 234 pieces, which puts it below that 10 cent per piece kind of baseline that we have. But I think the minifigures that come with it are really nice. The fact that you get essentially 2 vehicles that can combine into one, I think is a pretty good feature of this set. The motorcycle overall, I think looks pretty good. I do like it without all the legs on it. I think if you just did some detailing around where the legs connect instead of connecting the legs, I think it would look a little bit better, as I mentioned. But I don't think it looks bad with the legs on it, and it is nice, again, to get kind of that spider crawler, I think it looks pretty decent on its own. If it just had a little control element, maybe some gear shifts or levers or something like that to indicate some kind of control, I think it would look really nice as a rudimentary spider crawler. I hope you've enjoyed my thoughts on this set. I'm going to get going on another video, and until then, happy building. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe to my channel to see more of my content. I've left a link to my Marvel Superheroes playlist if you want to see more